So I've talked to you guys a lot about in the past how much I love movies, but I think, as an audience, as people enjoying movies, I think one thing we love to see is when the protagonist is able to overcome some unsurmountable odds, something that's so difficult that they can't do it by themselves. And then they have some wise or older trainer come alongside them and teach them how to become bigger and better and overcome said obstacle. I'm talking like people like Dumbledore or Yoda or Doc Hudson from Cars, or Chubbs Peterson from Happy Madison, just to name a few. But why is it something that we as an audience appreciate? Why is it something that we enjoy to see? I know I definitely do, and I'm like, oh, that guy's awesome. Like, he's helping our hero kind of accomplish their task or do what they're trying to do. And I think it's because it's sweet when we see somebody come alongside and help them. We see someone that's been through what they've been through before, when someone who's already had that character development happen in them and now are passing that knowledge and that wisdom on to the next generation of people. Like in Karate Kid, when Daniel's son is, in the final fight against the Cobra Kais, and he's getting beat up and he's getting whooped, and then Mr. Miyagi's standing there just like this, arms crossed, and he goes, and then Daniel does the rising crane and then flips it and then BAM! Kicks Johnny right in the face to win the whole thing. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that kind of character in these stories that we read. Someone that is wiser and somebody with a little more experience in their life than us. Someone that cares about the character and cares about their well-being and them succeeding. And I think the same thing goes for people in our lives. I think, we as people need somebody in our lives similar to Daniel's son, similar to Mr. Miyagi, to share as a mentor for us. Someone who is older, wiser, more experienced, and somebody who has a general vested interest in our well-being and seeing us grow and become something better than we are right now. And so, going back to what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, last week we talked about taking the next step. And what does that mean? It means taking the next step in our faith, wherever we line up, because all of us come from different points in faith. We're all on different levels of where we're at personally. And so I think one of the tangible ways that you personally, you who's watching this video, can take the next step in your faith is through mentorship. It's through having somebody that has gone through what you've gone through or has gone through in the past, has something to pass along to you to help guide you through this crazy journey of life and this crazy journey and walk with God. Somebody that can serve as a mentor for you. And I think that is one way that you can take the next step in your faith. Is someone that can is having somebody that pours into your life. Somebody that knows, where you're coming from. And so if I were to take a look back at my life, I think my life has been littered, which is crazy, with different mentors. I'm talking people like coaches, family members, teachers, leaders, just all these different people that may serve in a leadership position in your life, or in my life specifically, have served as mentors for me. And I've had different mentors from time to time in my different stages of life. Some have been there for just a small season. Some of them are still in my life to this day. And it just kind of varies throughout my life. But if I look back on how I came to faith, on how I continued in my faith, and how I was able to continue in my faith, wasn't just because I was at church every day, because I was reading my Bible today. Yes, those are perfectly great things. Those also helped in my own faith growth. But if I were to look back and say, these are the reasons why I was able to take the next step, the reason why I was able to continue and still be a Christian into college and as an adult, is because of mentors. It's because of people pouring into me and sharing their love for Christ with me and showing me what it looked like to be a follower of Jesus. And to help me, and answer the hard and tough questions, things that I didn't understand. Or maybe, like I said, people who have already gone through what you've gone through, kind of like the mentors in movies. We need those types of people in our life. Our walk with Christ isn't just meant to be something we do on our own. It's something we just have to go and figure out with no help. And it's just, off the top of our head, we'll just see how it goes. Our walk with God was never meant to be something we do on our own. It's meant to be done in community and with other people. But I think it was also meant to be done in a peer to mentor kind of a relationship. Somebody passing down and pouring into us. And so I think one of the best examples of that in the Bible are these two dudes named Paul and Timothy. And Timothy was a little bit younger, or not a little bit, he was much younger than Paul. And Paul saw something in Timothy to be the person to continue on what Paul had been doing when Paul was spreading the good news and was building the church. He saw Timothy as the one to carry that thing on for him for further generations. And so Paul began to pour into Timothy and would be the type of person to encourage him and would speak words of affirmation and love into Timothy's life. And he generally had a vested interest in Timothy. He was somebody that he cared about, somebody that he deeply loved. He even saw him as like a son in a way. And so he was the type of guy that was like, hey, I see something in you. I see something of worth, and I'm going to shepherd you, Timothy, through all of this stuff, through what it means to be a Christian and how to love people and how to spread the gospel. And so this is some of the examples of Paul encouraging Timothy in 1 Timothy. This is what it has to say. But you, Timothy, are a man of God. So run from all these evil things, pursue righteousness and a godly life, along with faith, love, perseverance, and gentleness. So that's out of 1 Timothy. And like I said, Paul and Timothy's relationship was very close, very intimate. It wasn't so much just like a coach and a player, but more of like a trainer and a player. So like when you're a coach, you coach a whole entire team. You got players ranging from different positions. Depending on what sport you're playing, some teams have more, some teams have less. But when you think about like a trainer, like a personal trainer, that is somebody that's doing a one-on-one thing, one-on-one coaching with just one athlete, one player. And able to like fine-tune specific things for that exact player. It's hard for a coach to just fine-tune every single player on their team, whereas a trainer can really pour deeply into one person. And that's kind of what Paul did in Timothy's life. And I think that's what we also need as people in our lives. We need people that care about us on a very personal and unique level. But Paul, like I said, cared deeply for Timothy. And things he would also say, going into the second book of Timothy, this is what also Paul has to say about him and their relationship. He says, I long to see you again, for I remember your tears as we parted, and I will be filled with joy when we are together again. So how hard is it, think about this for a sec, how hard is it trying to learn something new on your own? Whether it's like a sport or a new game or like a math problem. How hard would that be for you just to look at multiplication? Well, maybe not multiplication, but something very difficult, like you're doing the quadratic formula, without having any idea of what that meant, without having somebody explain that to you, like a teacher. And if that's the case of like how academics, sports, games, music, whatever, if that's the case where we need somebody to lead us and teach us in these things, then how is our faith any different? Why are we continuing to try to do everything on our own? I mean, it doesn't work. It never has. It definitely didn't work for me when I tried to do everything on my own, when I tried to just figure it out without asking questions or talking to people that know a little bit more than me. I don't know everything in the world, but there are people older than me, people that are wiser than me, more experienced, that have a better idea and a better grasp for life and Christianity than I ever did. So that's why it was such an important thing for me to not be doing this walk with God by myself, by having other people help me in this. Meaning that you guys also need people to help you and walk you through this. So Paul saw the importance of this, of mentorship, of coaching in his life. And I think we should too. And here's my challenge to you guys. One, recognizing that our walk with Jesus, that your walk with Jesus, isn't just meant to be done by yourself. It isn't just Luke and God. I mean, it is. That's my personal relationship with God. But it doesn't mean I can't ask for help. I can't phone a friend. I can phone a friend. Like a mentor of some sort. Somebody that's, like I said, older, wiser. And I'm not telling you just to go into Craigslist and be like, mentor wanted. But my challenge for you is to find people and recognize the people that are in your life. What family members may be a mentor to you. What coaches may be a mentor for you. What teachers might be a mentor for you. What leaders might be a mentor for you. But when you have those opportunities and you recognize the people in your life that serve as those mentors, to lean into those opportunities. Say like, hey, teacher, leader, your leaders, your small group leaders, like, hey, I see what role you play in my life. I see who you are and what you can do for my life. Hey, I'd love to sit and talk with you about the questions I have, the doubts that I have, the things that I'm struggling with. Like if you have those opportunities and you have an adult or somebody older than you that wants to pour into you in that way, take it every single chance you can get, because not everybody gets those opportunities. And they're so valuable and they're so important in your life. So one, lean into those opportunities. And If you guys can't find people, you don't have people like readily available for you, come talk to us. Come talk to Kristen, Mark, or I, or even your leaders. Maybe that takes you saying, hey, adult of some sort, hey, I'd love to be able to be mentored by you. You seem like you're somebody who has a lot of like your wealth of knowledge, and I would love to take from that. And like I said previously, mentors can come in tons of different forms, like teachers, coaches, family members, etc. But maybe it's that conversation you need to start. Maybe it's you're the one to be able to start that conversation with somebody and begin a mentorship and a mentee kind of relationship. And so, looking into my life again, when I was in high school, I got into a little bit of trouble. And I remember feeling guilty about everything. And I remember one of my mentors at the time. He was one of my football coaches, and he was one of my leaders at church. He led my Bible study. And I remember him pulling us aside, me and my buddy, after Bible study one night, and telling us that, you guys were idiots. Like, you messed up. You made a mistake. And that we all make mistakes. But the real question that separates us is how we respond afterwards, how we respond after we mess up. Do we choose to grow from these mistakes? Or do we continue making the same mistakes and doing the same things we were doing? And that's the thing that differentiates us, how we respond when we mess up. And I remember also him just saying like, hey man, I love you. I don't see you any different. I still care about you. But let's just get better from this. And I remember at that time when I was feeling guilty and just down on myself, that it was like the best thing I could have had and the best thing I could have heard. But I didn't hear that from a lot of other people, except this person that was pouring deeply into my life. And we need stuff like that. We need people like that, like a Paul, who's encouraging us, who's helping to point us in the right direction when we may not see it on our own. I probably never would have grown in my relationship with God without having people like this pouring into my life, navigating me, helping me. I probably wouldn't even be working at a church because of that. You never know what would happen. But I see how much the value of having a mentor in my life helped take me to the next step in my relationship with God. And I think it can help with you too. But ultimately, having a mentor in my life allowed me to take the next step in my relationship with God. And I challenge you to find somebody in your life that can help you with that too. Thanks for watching, guys.